This makes perfect.
Anyway.
Trigby's here, but his camera's pointed at his screen right now, so I'm gonna not pop him into the studio.
All right.
In case he has
Trigby, move your
confidential
stream.
materials.
All right. Yeah. We don't want confidential things.
30 seconds.
Here we go.
From the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. Todd Allbaugh along with Mr. Aaron Zommers, our producer and engineer. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 2 o'clock on this Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025. It's a great day to be a Wisconsinite, and it is
Hump Day.
That's right. Welcome, everybody. Made it midway through the week. Glad to have you along for the world headquarters, intersection of State and Fairchild, a beautiful downtown Madison. Nice day, a fall day, very fallish day, breezy, as my grandparents used to say, raw out there. Blustery winds and chilly, but it's fall. It's fall, so we're all good. Zommers, how you doing today?
Doing right. You know, it got the fall allergies in full swing.
All right. Yeah.
So that's not super fun. Lots of sneezing.
You
lots
could
of
have
nose blowing.
salivary stones.
God, I hope not.
I don't wish it upon anybody. No, it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. Before I forget, shout out to our good friend. My longest, the only person that's known me longer than my mother is Rob Wheat, because our mothers were in the maternity ward together. And I was born on October 21st. He was born on October 22nd. So I'm the old man of the pair. So happy birthday to Rob Wheat today. He and Scandan Jeff Daniels and I went to see that new film, No Packers, No Life, at the Marcus Theater here in Madison. Second time I got to see it. Great film. Encourage people to get out and see it if it's find where it's playing on marcustheaters.com at least another week. So go out and see it in theaters. No Packers, No Life before it disappears. It is Wednesday, and as per usual, we check in. What if it's blustery up on the Lake Wissota? We'll find out. The host of Mornings of Pat Kreitlow every morning from 6 until 9 across this fine network. Mr. Pat Kreitlow joins us from the banks, the shores of Lake Wissota. How are you?
Happy birthday to you. Am I on time? Am I late?
Yeah, no, you're fine. Thank you.
Wow.
I appreciate that. You're in voice.
I welcome you. I welcome you to the Septuagenarian Club here. Trigby and I welcome you in.
Thank you.
You've always been the youngest of us all, and yet mentally far and away the oldest. Due to your wisdom, of course. Yeah, so happy birthday. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's odd to be on the downside of 50 now at 56 rather than the upside of 50, but 56? Hey, better than the alternative.
56?
Yeah.
You punk. All right. Let's move on. I don't need to
speaking Kreitlow mentioned him. He also joins us from his home in the suburbs of the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., the Tony suburbs, a former Republican like myself from beautiful River Falls, Wisconsin, now a senior advisor at the Lincoln Project, Mr. Trigby Olson. Trigby, how the heck are you?
I'm good, Todd. How are you?
I'm okay.
Birthday.
Thank you. I appreciate it. He does not sound. You sound a little tired. Are you okay?
Nah, I'm fine. I've got a little bit of a cold or allergies thing going on.
See, last week it was his back. This week it's his cold, and people think I'm older than him. Excuse me. I mean,
no.
Geez, Shady Acres,
exactly
cold,
right.
Man. They're waiting for you. It's
I know. It's true.
Well, I'm glad you're here. My voice is still these goofy salivary or what is it, Zommers? Salivary.
Yeah, salivary gland stones.
Salivary gland stones. It's a real thing. So I've got kidney stones. I've got salivary stones. I don't have any gold stones. But anyway, the line from Gypsy.
Have you got
One of my
Everybody
favorite
Must
shows.
Get Stoned? Can you play a little Bob Dylan in honor of that? I mean,
That's true. We can
stones everywhere. Yeah.
Dollars can.
There we go. There.
That's great. There you go. From the Quite Little Cameras. All right.
So much stonage.
All right.
We just had to get to that line.
Okay,
That's all.
got it. Did you guys see that? Well, what was it? It's been months ago now, but the Bob Dylan movie when it came out.
Yes.
I did not.
How was it? Good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and I don't know a ton about Bob Dylan, but I know it was a nice little film. Showed us what a quirky guy he is from the very beginning. I don't know if I'm going to see the Springsteen one.
That's what I was going to ask, because I was in the theater last night to see No Packers, No Life and the big trailer, and I really want to see it.
You know, things are always kind of hit and miss. Like remember the one about Freddie Mercury came out, and then like a couple of months after that, the one about Elton John, which was a little bit more of a hit and miss. And so I'm going to wait till I hear more about the Springsteen one first before I decide.
Are you a Springsteen fan, Trigby?
No, not particularly, but I do want to go see that movie. I respect Bruce Springsteen. I think it just was never really my cup of tea, mostly because it was my high school hockey coach, Scott Dickmeyer's cup of tea. He was from South St. Paul, and he used to blast Cadillac Ranch and Born to Run and all kinds of Bruce Springsteen every morning at 5:30. And as you guys know, I don't talk before 10 o'clock, and listening to Bruce Springsteen so loud to get us to yell for the puck was more than I could take.
This guy barely talks by 3 p.m. It's
Right.
That's true too.
yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
All right, well, guys, a couple of topics here to cover today. In a moment, I want to get to something that Pat he's actually a legit journalist. I kind of dabbled around the edges, but I want to talk about the student newspapers at Indiana and also in Pulaski, Wisconsin. But before we do that, I want to get both your thoughts. And Pat, let's start with you as a former Democratic state senator in the state of Wisconsin. Interested in your take, and I just the quick synopsis for those that might not have been with us yesterday, I should say. We had a reporter on, Danielle DeClose from the Capital Times, who had a story that ran in the Cap Times on Friday, and it focused on the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction, and in particular, Superintendent Jill Underly. Over 200 cases of teachers' sexual assault, grooming cases, not all quote-unquote teachers, some were aides and support staff. And the thrust of the story is that it was, in the Cap Times opinion, difficult to get some of these records, and secondarily, the disorganization, my word, within DPI of keeping track of this, and that some people were allowed, even before they were criminally charged or the allegations were proven, to stop the investigation. They were allowed, and apparently it's under state law, you can turn in your teacher license to stop the investigation, but then in the records at DPI, it does not say why you turned in your license, and there's concern that should those individuals be known why they turned it in, to prevent them from working with children in the future, and that Dr. Jill Underly refused to sit or take up the invitations from the Capital Times to sit for this interview, and then Friday after it was published, Underly, and we read some of this yesterday, her response was to basically take a page from Trump and attack the reporter and attack the Capital Times and say they got it wrong. And she still won't accept an invitation to talk to the reporter. I know we've asked her, not in this specific case, but she used to come on our program. She no longer does. Back in April, she refused to debate her opponents in the campaign where she got reelected to the state superintendent appointee or the position. And now coming up tomorrow, there is an assembly hearing. They're asking they don't have subpoena power like Congress, but they're asking her to testify. And what I'm hearing is that she is leaning towards not appearing. That's a long setup, but Pat, I'll shut up now, let you talk. From a Democratic perspective, there's the whole story and the tragedy of the allegations here. Some have already been proven. But to me, it's about the lack of transparency with this DPI superintendent and DPI in general from simply telling us what's up and defending it.
Yeah, and I can really only comment on that part of it. I will admit not being fully informed on the substance of the initial report and the allegations, and so any comments I made would be more about basically finding out more about this. What do top officials at DPI know, and when did they know it? And when this topic came up briefly yesterday, and I heard that Jill Underly declined interview opportunities. I thought that was a potential mistake, that it might have been a matter of wishing the story away and not talking to a reporter who's got some serious questions about an investigation they're doing. Is rarely is that the best advice. And the one thing that makes it worse, if you don't talk to a reporter who's genuinely trying to get to the bottom of the story, the one thing that's worse is having to go sit through, a kangaroo court of a committee hearing once the politicians jump into this. I would love to tell you that every legislator on this committee would have only the best interests of the children at heart and to further a quality education. But I can't tell you that. I can't tell you that half of that room won't have the long knives out and, do a whole bunch of filibustering, that if you're Jill Underly, if you don't have to sit there, why would you sit there? So it's always easier to talk to the reporter first, even if the answer is, I don't know, I'll look into it and I'll get back to you.
Agree with what you said about some of the folks in this committee are just going to use it for political opportunities. I said this on this show as well, that now, in my opinion, by not coming forward and being transparent, you're giving Robin Voss, the Republicans, a greater stage on which to manufacture things and vilify public education as if that needed to be done anymore. And what disturbs me the most is just this lack of transparency on her part,
right,
and the lack of coming forward.
Right. And look, in 2010, when I was running for re-election to the legislature and lost, one of the things that, remember, just prior to Act 10, there were all kinds of criticisms about teachers' unions and protecting their own and everything. And I recall speaking to an educator group, and we could see where the tea leaves were in terms of the election that year. And I said something rather direct around the lines of, you guys have to be the ones most willing to expose and kick out the bad apples, because if you just circle the wagons every time, that you're not doing anybody any favors. And I say that because my advice now to Dr. Underly and others would be, to the extent that about the bad actors, the things that are, that you can prove and everything, you had better find a way to make sure people know that they are not going to be put in a position around children any further. If you look like you're circling the wagons, all I can say is heaven help you.
Yeah. And I just don't. Well, Trigby, I know you're not intimately informed about this story, but just as someone who worked in political communications, from a communication standpoint, to me, it doesn't make sense why your boss wouldn't want to, or why a boss, an elected official, wouldn't want to be in front on this and trying to drive the narrative.
Yeah, I mean, I think, at the end of the day, not answering makes it look like you have something to hide, right? So even if the answer is, I don't know, I'm not sure, the reality is, I agree with Pat's point 100%, right? Like, if the teachers union is rallying the wagons, right, circling the wagons, and you have her basically saying, I'm not going to talk to a reporter, and a friendly reporter at that, from a friendly news source probably, it ends up looking like there's more there, whether there is there or not. And whether she thinks it's a foolish argument or, ridiculous is neither here nor there. She's losing in the court of public opinion.
Right.
Yeah. Their office claimed, her spokesperson said they had $600,000 to address this, and it got turned down by JFC, the budget committee. My analogy was, well, hey, so did the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Fund, and they immediately went to the public and said, we need a standalone bill on this. Why wasn't Underlay and DPI out in front saying, okay, we didn't get the money at joint finance, but this is what's going on? That part I don't understand. We'll come back, talk more about this and local news with Pat Kreitlow and Trigby Olson on Civic Media's Radio Network.
Democracy deserves a little airtime.
All right, thank you guys. I appreciate that discussion.
Get ready, Madison.
Another note, The Cap Times has another article that I don't think either of us have read yet, but I just skimmed over it a little bit now. And this is a quote from it. In her letter to the Cap Times, Joe Underly said, or quote, she also called these license surrenders a binding legal agreement to a permanent lifetime ban on their ability to teach in Wisconsin, contradicting her own department's records. At least 8 educators since 2018 have been allowed to surrender their licenses and maintain their ability to reapply after a defined time period of 1 to 3 years.
Oh, is that beyond the story that came out this morning?
Yeah, that's another one.
All right. Well, I haven't read it, so I appreciate you telling me.
That's why I put it in there instead of just saying it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I don't know. It's just I don't understand why you wouldn't be out in front of this. And I agree with past point.
And by the way, there's also, one of these follow-up stories that schools charge big money for teacher misconduct records, and that the records appear to be not kept very well. That again is the kind of thing you can get ahead of and say, look, a lot of this predates me, but it's true, and we're going to try to make things better. Again, silence, or a full-throated defense of the indefensible is just never the way to go.
No. And here, I wanted to let you talk, so I didn't interrupt, but I agree that as someone who comes from a family of educators, if you're the DPI superintendent, as kind of the head of the teachers, education, wouldn't you be out there saying, look, the vast majority of our educators are great people doing great things in our schools. Like any industry, there's always going to be a small fraction, a couple of bad apples, whatever you want to say. And that's tragic, and we need to do a better job at that. But the vast majority of people out there, I told this story on the air, whatever it was, yesterday or Friday. I know of a district, I'm not going to say out of the air, it wasn't anybody attached directly to me, but the policy in the school was that you couldn't have a phone in your pocket. The teacher said, hey, I see it in your pocket, take it back to your locker, and they got accused of looking at the kid's ass. Yeah,
10 seconds.
All right.
I'd rather go and journey where the diamond crescent's glowing and run across the valley beneath the sacred mountain and wander through the forest.
You ever go camping in the North Woods? Any woods, as a matter of fact, Wisconsin, on a crisp fall day, you have a campfire, there's kind of that smoke rising through and the smell of dried leaves and a fresh cup of coffee, and the sun's coming up, and you think, see, this is what Wisconsin's about.
And then you wake up and you realize it's overcast, it's dreary, it's windy, there's a wind chill out here. Why did I let the kids talk me into camping in this tent? Why didn't I waterproof the tent? Yeah, there's the fantasy, and then there's the things that happen up here sometimes.
I was setting it up to say that's what it's like listening to Pat Kreitlow every morning from 6 until 9.
Yes, like it's overcast and rainy, and you wonder, why did I even do this to begin with? That's
no, not at all.
Yeah,
not at all. Not at all. Let's make sure we have time for this, Patrick. What do you have coming up on this show this week you like to plug to make sure people listen between 6 and 9?
Oh my goodness, that assumes an ability to have a memory longer than a goldfish at this point.
All right, we'll give you an opportunity at the end if you want.
Yes, we will have our usual gang, and that includes Chad Holmes from our station in Wausau. Sean O'Malley will be talking a bit about crypto, the state of Wisconsin's investment board, betting big on crypto, making a killing, and then getting out. High risk, high reward, I guess. And of course, Joe Zepecki will be along, and he was quoted in that, shall we say, interesting New York Times article yesterday, all about all the people who don't want Mandela Barnes to run for governor. And anybody who heard our show this morning, and the clip was already on TikTok and everywhere else, Earl Ingram heard me talking about that. And let's just say he went off on the New York Times reporter who was supposed to call him but didn't for that story. So for that, go back and listen to us as a podcast on Spotify, but we'll have Joe Zepecki on tomorrow.
There you go. That's a tease. That's a plug. That's the whole deal. All right.
See, you just
catch
got to give
Pat
me a
every
moment.
morning from 6
the
until
wheels
9.
turn.
Yeah, see, perfect.
Yeah,
I
do have a
want to
show
talk
tomorrow.
about something that I think we're all three of us are. And by the way, Pat Kreitlow and Trygve Olsen join us here via StreamYard today. The newspapers, the importance of local news. First, quickly to a national or a regional story, and then here in Wisconsin, a story about Indiana University orders the school paper to cease print edition and fires the director of the student media. Indiana University orders student-run newspaper, the Indiana Daily Student, to cease printing new editions and fire the director of student media, who also served as the paper's advisor. University's directive to halt print editions came just hours after the director was terminated in a letter. Pat, I think this is just another example of Trumpism leaking into suppression of free speech.
I guess, although I feel like I need to know a little bit more about it and what is it that is leading to these accusations of potential censorship. But if it is anything like that, it would be extremely troubling. And Indiana being a red state as it is, it wouldn't be as surprising. It would be much more surprising to come out of, Wisconsin, Minnesota, something like that. But, again, it is in keeping with the times. There's simply not that many people out there anymore who want to defend a free press.
This comes from The Guardian, by the way. Thank you. I should have said that up front. TheGuardian.com. It says, in recent weeks, there have been disagreements between the university leadership and the paper's board and the advisor over what content could appear in the print paper, according to the Indianapolis Star. Trygve, someone who's fought against authoritarianism in Eastern Europe, I don't know. I just think I'm one of these people that thinks a free press is probably good for democracy.
Yeah, I think a free press is good for democracy. Kind of like Pat. I don't really know the details of it. I'm actually skimming a story on it right now. It also looks like they had some financial challenges, but it does look like the guy was let go for not censoring articles that the administration didn't like. I think that is a problem of the world that we're living in, right? Everybody wants to own their own truths. And they get when you have political extremism, I say this often, right? Like there's 4 steps: psychological distress, acceptance of simplistic answers, overconfidence, and then ultimately intolerance. And what we're seeing all across the country in various ways is intolerance. And that intolerance knows no color, although it certainly, as Trumpism has definitely thrown gasoline on the fire. And then you see it at places like universities. That's the way these things work. Everything becomes, you got to be on a red team or blue team.
IU
the rest
alum,
of us are stuck in the middle.
IU alum and graduate, your buddy Mark Cuban came out calling out his alma mater for doing this. Maybe you get Mark to throw some money towards the paper like he did for Signetti for the $90 million contract for football.
Well, this is the thing. If Signetti were to come out and say no more money for football over this,
oh yeah, right.
I'm pretty sure the advisor would be back tomorrow.
Yeah,
and that is the unfortunate reality too that we're in. Is you have a very small subset of people who give large monies to the universities who have an extraordinary amount of sway over those universities. Now, that being said, if you want to impact them, those are the people that you got to get to make the case.
Yeah. Pat, we'll get more into this on the other side, but there's a great story at Wisconsin Watch on this student newspaper. The Pulaski News is called in Pulaski, the high school, where students have been filling this local void for news for a long time. I think that's pretty cool.
It is cool. And keep in mind that, again, you're always going to have students who aspire to be storytellers, to be reporters. They're young. They don't know that the business model for news gathering is completely and hopelessly broken at the moment, because there's always going to be the need for that investigation. So like in the case of the Indiana paper, they, as I'm seeing now, they cut it down to like 7 editions. They were just supposed to be about special events, about homecoming and special student guides. They wanted fluff. No, we need information more than ever, especially from young aspiring journalists with good faculty leadership.
Absolutely. One of those young, inspiring journalists who is now a full bird journalist, been for many years. Pat Kreitlow, you can hear his journalism.
So many.
You can hear his entertainment, his this day in music history, as long as people don't. What do they do, Zombers? They axed one of the songs. It was terrible.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
But you can hear it every morning from 6 until 9 on Mornings with Pat Kreitlow. Thank you, Patrick. Have a great day.
You guys. See ya.
Trigby on the other side. Stay
Pat.
with us.
I just
Seven
wish I'd have
Why
been
did they
able
why
to
did they
s-
why did they go after you for one song?
AI.
Listening to 92.7
Oh, the AI thing. Oh.
WMDX.
Who went
I
after?
wish
Oh,
I'd have just been old enough to see Pat in his days with the Spectator on Eau Claire's campus instead of when he was at
was not-
WEAU.
was not part of the Spectator. I was running TV 10 up in the basement of Towers
Oh,
Hall,
look
and
at
then
that.
running the WUEC, the station there. I was not an ink-stained wretch in any way, shape, or form, as they like to say. Yeah. What was that? Oh, you were talking about the music. You talking about the Manfred Mann thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea what that was about.
That's weird.
It's just AI. Basically, it listens and hears music and says, "We don't care if you actually have the rights. We're going to assume you're not and cut your
Yeah.
content."
And you can't
And normally,
It's terrible.
Yeah, you have no real person to talk to, like in
Right.
so much about corporate America these days. There's no real person to go, oh, you know what? That makes sense. Yes, you're right. They don't want a person who would actually do that. We already have the robot umpires in those situations, and they can't call the balls and strikes correctly to save their lives. But of course, they don't have lives. They're robots. So what do they care? They don't have lives, and the people who put those in place have no souls. On that note, I will leave you alone.
All right. Thanks,
All right.
Pat. Have a
See
good
ya.
day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you, Pat.
I'm going to have to agree with everything you said there. Yeah.
You could argue that if the Dodgers have any of their pitchers on the mound, you don't even need somebody to call balls and strikes.
Stop
because
it.
it's just
Stop
all
it.
strikes.
Stop it. What are you going to do against Shohei Ohtani has perhaps the best game in baseball history?
Yeah, and Blake Snell throws the greatest game since Don Drysdale.
Yeah, and it didn't help that we swung at literally every first pitch that game.
That guy can really throw a baseball.
He can.
It's
Dave
not
in New
really
Berlin.
fair. Their payroll is twice the Brewers.
Yeah.
David New Berlin says, "Hey man, are we about to get a picture of Todd rocking a mullet?" I can't even grow hair on top of my head, Dave. I'm not sure how I could grow a mullet. I guess maybe.
Business
Hey,
in the
we
front,
should
party
play
in the back.
Katy Perry. We should play the Katy Perry birthday song for.
What do you want to talk about, Trigby?
I don't care. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about, Todd. I'm open
Oh
to
my
talk about
gosh.
anything.
Wow.
We can talk about the White House getting ripped to pieces.
All right,
We can
let's talk about that.
him wanting $250 million.
Oh,
from
yeah.
the Justice Department.
I got a cut for that, actually. Thank you for that. That's what I had. Hang on. Yep. All right. Thank you, Trigby.
Yeah.
All right. There's Trump. First cut. Trump paying himself. And then we've got John Fetterman, who clearly is got problems. Said that's just small ball. That's just small ball. 250 million, just small ball.
Mhm.
Fetterman. What was this on? John Fetterman, CNN. But and then we got where is it? Donald Trump saying we can't let it happen again. We can't let it happen again. What happened in 2020? We can't let it happen again.
That's cool.
Oh, the
Very fun.
steel.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That should hold us for about half an hour.
Yep.
30 seconds.
Thank you. Favorite performer, like any girl dad in America, making birthdays better. Katy Perry there. Trivia Olson happens to be a girl dad. Joins us from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. every Wednesday. Former Republican like myself, now a senior advisor at the Lincoln Project. Trivia Olson. You went to Katy Perry, right?
I did. And you know what happens when you go to like a Katy Perry concert and you
What?
post a picture of your daughters for them to find years later on Facebook? You
What
learn
happens?
things like the fact that Katy Perry's apparently dating Justin Trudeau.
Yes, that's true.
It's really more information than I wanted to know, and why it's on my Facebook feed, I'm not quite sure, Todd.
And then there was a post, and I mean, Justin Trudeau is a pretty smart, is a pretty smart politician. There's a paparazzi picture of him on top of or on the main deck of a boat, a yacht, something, shirtless, but with jeans on. And then Katy Perry is like in a bathing suit, and people are saying, oh, look at that. I mean, that had to be set up, right? I mean, you don't do that if you're not.
They
I
had
think
to
it was a
know the
setup.
paparazzi.
Exactly.
Were probably there.
Exactly.
I mean, it's foolish. It's like there was this post, excuse me, a paparazzi picture of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift on a beach, and people were ragging on how they looked.
Right.
Like
It's
they
like-
don't look like they're very fit. And I thought, really?
I know. You've been to both Katy Perry and the Taylor Swift concert with your daughters. You can't. I mean, you were there. I've seen like Garth Brooks concerts, Kenny Chesney concerts. These people who are actually entertainers and performers that go on for 2, and in Taylor Swift's case, almost 3 hours. You don't do that unless you're in great shape, right? I mean,
yeah, 100%. I mean, Katy Perry's show was weird, I thought, but whatever. Not my cup of tea. Taylor Swift is a showgirl, pun intended. Like
Right.
that was it was pretty good. It was, when we walked
she's an
out-
entertainer. Yeah.
Yeah, when we walked out, Kaya said to me, "That's the greatest concert you've ever seen, right, Dad?" And I'm thinking, it's not Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue in '89, but I might have been using some medicinal improvements, I guess, that I wasn't using at Taylor Swift.
By the way, David New Berlin listening to it. Yes, I turned 56 yesterday. He says, I'm 55. When you were 19 in 1989, I was 18. Anybody was rocking a mullet in 1989. Well, Dave, that just goes to prove I was nobody because I was not rocking a mullet in 1989. I had feathered hair in 1989.
Yeah,
Back when I had
in
hair.
the '80s. Yeah, the mullets were. I had a mullet in high school.
Did you really?
Everybody
Yeah.
had a mullet. Yeah. It was
All right,
awesome.
Trick. All right,
Work
let's.
in the front, party in the back.
There's a party going on out in Washington, D.C., at least for somebody. The Trumpster, Donald Trump, taking time to tear down the East Wing of the White House, which I find particularly disturbing, Trigby. You've worked for high-level people out in D.C. You spent a lot of time out there. You live out there. Am I right or wrong that regardless of past presidents who may have done remodels or whatever, additions, doesn't that have to go through like a congressional or historic building committee? I mean, you don't have Truman just saying, oh, here, let's do this.
Yeah, actually, ironically, I think Harry Truman did actually revamp the White House.
No, I know he did. That's why I said that. But I don't think he just woke up one day and said, let's do this.
Well, yeah, you would think that there would be more of a process than there seems to have been with this. That being said, I don't know the answer, and so I don't want to.
All right.
I mean,
fair enough.
I can think of certain governors of the state of Wisconsin who they themselves or their wives unilaterally decided to start changing around the governor's mansion. So I don't know. That's a little bit of a gray area. I do think like the Rose Garden stuff.
That was sad.
I understand it's sad because it wasn't acknowledging the history of the Rose Garden. That said, I also kind of get the thinking behind it. I mean,
how so?
I just think there should be more of a process. The Rose Garden.
Yeah.
I mean, having been in the Rose Garden, I mean, the Rose Garden was really cool because it's the Rose Garden, but the Rose Garden also was very Franklin Roosevelt-esque when you were actually in terms of practicality for today. So,
but do you think it should look like Mar-a-Lago's front porch? He literally put umbrellas there the same as Mar-a-Lago.
No, I get that. That's why I think, there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. We talked about the remodeling of the state capitol because I was in the state capitol, and I remember thinking all the controversy around that, right? Well, and yet when you go to the Wisconsin state capitol today, it's amazing, but it wasn't like Tommy was unilaterally making the decisions about how that was going to work, right? Like they had a whole
that's the point.
To restore it. And that I think we're saying the same thing. Yeah. I think.
By the way, Casper watching on YouTube says the Rose Garden that doesn't have roses anymore, right?
Yeah, that is true. They could have. See, that's that is right to the point. And the
Casper says it looks like a patio at Applebee's now.
Right.
He's 100% right.
There's a right way and a wrong way to do these. There's a right way and a wrong way to do these things. I don't think this was the right way to do it. And I will tell you, ironically, the people defending it to a degree, if it had been Joe Biden ripping up the Rose Garden, would have been,
or Barack Obama,
making it look like the Delaware Shore or what's the
Chicago's shore,
the pier in Chicago. People would have gone bananas. The same people who are defending it now, and that's the bigger point. That's why there's a right way and a wrong way to do it.
My boss, my former boss, sat on a committee in Wisconsin called SCRB, the State Residence and Executive Board, or the State Capitol and Executive Residence Board. That has to go, any remodel at the governor's residence has to go through this board. And when Scott Walker came in, Tonette wanted to change the kitchen and some other things. And she came up, and the first thing that Tonette Walker did, honest to God, I was there in the meeting, she tore out the handicap ramp at the front entry of the executive residence because she thought it looked ugly. Screw the people in wheelchairs. I'm taking out the ramp.
Right.
So there's that.
I mean, that gets back to the right way and the wrong way. I mean, the reality is there is a middle ground that can work for everybody on these things. And, in theory, it's Donald Trump is a guest in that house. But he sure seems to be going about reconstructing it as though he thinks of himself as a long-term occupant.
All right, that brings up our next topic here.
Occupant.
Yeah, a permanent occupant. Much more serious things. I mean, not that this isn't serious with tearing down a wing of the White House and building an extravagant, gaudy ballroom, but I think there is something more newsy here, and that was at the Oval Office yesterday in the White House. Trump, during a presser, it came up that I'm not sure exactly what question it was from the reporter who brought this up, but it gave Trump an opportunity, as he does, to go off on a tangent and kind of unprovoked. He goes on the fact that his Justice Department now is thinking about paying him, Trump, a settlement for what he claims are damages during the investigation of January 6th. Here's Trump yesterday.
You're just very good.
To follow up on her question to you, because the New York Times is reporting that your legal team is seeking $230 million from your own Justice Department now in response to the investigations into you. Is that something you want your legal team to do?
I don't know what the numbers are. I don't even talk to them about it. All I know is that They would owe me a lot of money, but I'm not looking for money. I'd give it to charity or something. I would give it to charity, any money. But look, what they did, they rigged the election. And as you know, we had, in one case, 60 Minutes had to pay us a lot of money. George Slobodanopoulos had to pay us a lot of money, and they already paid. They paid me a lot of money because what they did was wrong. And, when somebody does what's wrong. Now, with the country, it's interesting because I'm the one that makes the decision, right? And, that decision would have to go across my desk. And it's awfully strange to make a decision where I'm paying myself. In other words, did you ever have one of those cases where you have to decide how much you're paying yourself in damages? But I was damaged very greatly. And any money that I would get, I would give to charity.
Donald Trump yesterday in the White House saying that he has to make the decision whether to pay himself $260 million of damages in his mind for being investigated for his...
It's not damages.
That's what he's claiming.
Money.
Yes, but I'm just saying what he's claiming.
Right,
but there's a lot of
frame it as what it is. It would be taxpayer money.
Correct.
Now, I would say this to any listeners that say, "Yep, he was damaged. His legal fees. He should get damages for what's been done to him." My question is, if Jim Comey, if that case is thrown out, or John Brennan, or any of these other people have their cases dismissed, whatever, should they be compensated for damages?
Right.
Would you agree that they should be with taxpayer money? Because you can't logically say that Donald Trump should be compensated if you do not believe that any of those people should also be compensated if that happens.
Well, I agree with what you just said.
And what would their answer be, Todd?
They said, well, absolutely not.
Yeah, they would be. Well, what about? Yeah. That is what
the other part that's just disturbing, I'm no lawyer, but I think any basic person could say the President of the United States is not supposed to be making decisions for the Justice Department. And the President of the United States does not, quote unquote, sign off on perceived or real damages to individuals that the government pays out. I mean, that comes from other people. And the fact that he's saying that he makes this decision is just another indicator to me, Trigvi, although you've actually worked against authoritarians, that this guy views everything as his.
Yeah. The U.S. government, he believes, is his. Yeah, 100%.
It's not only Republicans thinking this is not a problem. It happens to be a Democrat as well. This is U.S. Senator John Fetterman, Democrat of Pennsylvania, on CNN, asked about this yesterday.
And you even represent Eagles fans, I take it as well. One final question, Senator Fetterman. The president yesterday seemed to acknowledge that he's trying to get a $230 million payout from the government in response to a couple of the investigations into him. That would be taxpayer money. How do you feel about the president pushing for that?
I hope that's not true. For that kinds of money, that's small ball, and I think we have much bigger problems in worrying about those things. I hope it's not true, and of course, the $230 million should go to paying people's health insurance or other things. That's not a priority I would ever support for those kinds of payments.
Senator John Fetterman
calling it small ball, Trigvi. I just, what happened to this guy?
I think he just gave a bad answer. Not a bad answer. He says he doesn't think that Trump should be getting the money. He referred to it shows somebody out of touch that he suggests $250 million is small ball, which might get to a part of the problem with people, some of the perspectives of people like John Fetterman. But,
yeah. Come on back, talk more. Donald Trump is trying to perpetrate the big lie. We'll play it for you on the other side of the Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Here and on the Brew Crew.
Not perpetrate, but perpetuate. I got my P's mixed up.
This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Maybe he's trying to perpetuate the big lie. Perpetuate, perpetrate.
Department of Transportation just announced the official start date for
Decombobulate,
Right.
whatever.
Where's Dan Schaefer when you need him? We need some recombobulation.
Construct and widen a 3.5-mile stretch of interstate highway.
Recombobulate,
This is a
discombobulate.
massive project with an estimated cost
Dick,
of
hold on the line. I want to play this one other cut from Trump, and then we'll go to you.
This official start date announced also came estimates for how long this will take. Construction is expected to last until 2033. At the recombobulation area, this project is something we've
There is Dan Schaefer on the radio.
Four-part series called
He's
Expanding the Divide.
decombobulating.
Might be worth revisiting that series and considering how unnecessary and expensive an extra lane is, and how in Southeastern Wisconsin we're going to be dealing with construction and delays for the next 8 years in order to shave a few minutes off suburban commute times, while the city streets and city problems go ignored once again.
Find all of Dan's work at the recombobulation area.
Did the average S&P 500 CEOs earn in less than 2 days what their typical worker earned in all of 2023? Yes. In 2023, the average S&P 500 CEO earned about $17 million, or about $46,849 per day, compared to under $64,000 per year for the average worker. Median figures were similar. CEOs made $16.3 million, while median workers earned about $81,000, equivalent to less than 2 days of CEO pay. High CEO compensation remains a stark contrast to the modest worker earnings across major U.S. companies. I'm Trisha Young for Wisconsin Watch. Fact briefs are bite-sized fact checks of trending claims produced by Wisconsin Watch and GigaFact. Read more at wisconsinwatch.org.
The leaves are still fairly green, but don't get comfortable. Madison fall arrives like a Badger blitz. One day you're at the terrace in shorts, the next you're hunting for flannel. 92.7 WMDX is here through every season change and wardrobe crisis. Real news and great conversation.
Did you get my text the other night about that show, The Neighborhood?
Beautiful unpredictability.
The show?
Yeah. The whole story. No. I texted you. Just texted you. The CBS show, The Neighborhood. The storyline is all about this guy who loses his job to AI.
Oh yeah. I
was weird.
I need to check it out.
Yeah, you should.
I want to check it out.
All right, here we go. On a Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025. Get all your political jams, all kinds of great information. Subscribe to Trygve Olsen's Substack. All kinds of great information there. Trygve Olsen joins us from his home in suburban Washington, D.C., senior advisor at the Lincoln Project. You can find him at Trygve Olsen. That's TrygveOlson.substack.com. TrygveOlson.substack.com. Always worth a read, always worth a follow. Trygve talking about Trump talking to the press yesterday, the Oval Office. One of the things he casually drops out, he's back to, I think I said perpetrating. I got my P's mixed up. He's perpetuating the big lie that the 2020 election was somehow rigged, somehow stolen from him, that Joe Biden actually didn't win, which we know categorically is untrue. It has been proven that the 2020 election was one of the safest, fairest elections in the history of our country, as was the 2024 election. And yet, here is Donald Trump yesterday in the White House.
Or really, I think it's got to be handled in a proper way. If it's not handled in a proper way, we don't want it to happen again. We can never let what happened in the 2020 election happen again. We just can't let that happen. And so the way we go, I know Cash is working on it, everybody's working on it, and certainly Tulsi's working on it. We can't let that happen again to our country. Look at what's happened where you have millions of people being allowed to come into our country, all because of a crooked election, where they come from prisons, they come from jails, they come from mental institutions and insane asylums, they're drug dealers. The people that they've allowed to come into our country, we cleaned the war.
Donald Trump yesterday, the White House, again, false information that somehow the 2020 election was rigged, Trigby. I think for me, the more disturbing part is saying that he's looking ahead to 2028. You have concerns about this?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to take these guys at their word. I mean, if I learned one thing from working around the world with those autocrats, against autocrats, they all are kind of the same guy, and they almost always say what they intend to do. And it may seem ridiculous in the moment, but eventually it becomes their truth. And does anyone have any reason to doubt that Donald Trump probably wants to run again?
I don't. I mean, he has hats in the Oval Office that say Trump 2028.
Right. Exactly.
I mean,
And, so there's always this tendency to describe that, to explain it away. Well, he was just trolling the Democrats, right. Blah, blah, blah. But in truth, does anyone think that, knowing what we know after 10 years of Donald Trump, that he wouldn't want to stay in whether he wins an election or not? Yeah. I mean, he's already demonstrated that, which is the reason why when you had people before the election who were dismissing it, particularly some who know him personally, Scott Walker would be an example of this, who say, oh, people don't want to hear about January 6th anymore. They're tired of that. They want to know about the economy. Well, the question back to Scott now would be, they don't want to hear about ICE on the streets. They care about that, but let's talk about the economy. How is the economy? I mean,
not good.
Pretty good if you got Diane Hendricks money and you run some youth group. But
that's good. No, I mean, we talked about this yesterday. Beef farmers are up in a lot of Republicans because Trump said over the weekend that he wants to bring in Argentinian beef to flood the U.S. market to drive down beef prices. I don't think that does not sit well with beef farmers in Eau Claire County.
Well, how is it working out for soybean farmers, the tariffs in Iowa?
Yeah, not well. Or the soybean farmers in Wisconsin.
But people need to take a deep breath, too. Like, you look at the latest polling that has been coming out, and the reality is, I get there's this desire, well, it doesn't matter what's going to happen. A year from now, the country's going to be destroyed by then, blah, blah, blah. That is true. But what people have to keep reminding themselves is, you're talking about a guy who's at 37% approval right now. He's underwater in all of the swing states. He's underwater in some red states. The bottom line is Americans are rejecting this. They really, really are. I mean, they are. And there's even
7 million people showed up outside, and we had reports from people on our own staff. Jane Batnier was at the No Kings rally in Milwaukee last weekend. She said she ran into people that said, I'm a Republican, but I'm tired of this.
Yeah, and the way you break these things is it's the vertical underneath no longer supporting, and whether the election itself is free or fair, the reality is the elections will be an opportunity to so overwhelmingly swamp them that it is impossible for them to cheat their way out of it.
Right. And that's the key. People have to show up as much on election day and as united on election day as they are at No Kings rallies.
Right. And they have to be understanding that this battle that we're in is going to be won or lost by not being afraid and by understanding that it isn't about what you think, but the people that are succumbing to Trumpism, that you need to inform yourself and get the tools to be able to have conversations with friends and family, not avoid those conversations, but actually have those conversations around the dinner table in ways that aren't going to change their mind immediately, but are helping them find within themselves why what they're advocating for isn't in their best interest. You have to help them find the cognitive dissonance. Not
look in the mirror.
Push them
look
towards
in the mirror.
Being intolerant towards you. And and there are far too many who think it's about what I think or feel, and the others are ill-informed. That is not a winning strategy. You don't want to hear that. What you need to do is you need to lead them to understanding.
Agreed. Are you sticking with us a little bit the next hour? You got to run.
Unfortunately, I now have a 4
right.
o'clock call about some of the tools I'm working on, Todd.
All right. Enjoy.
Starting to get up against deadline.
We'll take some.
But we'll talk about that when it comes out, dude.
Sounds good. Take your calls on the other side. Stick with us. Thank you for now, Trinity Olsen. We'll see you next week. Back after this for hour 2.
Thanks. What's this or that today?
Today is
wedding showers or baby showers?
Oh yeah, wedding showers or baby showers. What's worse?
I don't do either of them because
I was going to ask.
Gen X dudes don't get invited to baby showers or wedding showers.
Now everybody does.
No, there you go. There's a reason why the 80s rocked.
He's a grumpy old man.
I am. All right, I got to go.
All right, talk to you later. Thank you. Yep, bye-bye.
To this. If you are a drug trafficker operating in the Eastern Pacific, might you think twice before getting on that boat?
It is day 22 of the government shutdown. Democrats and Republicans remain deadlocked on a fix. Democrats on the Senate floor today holding a marathon speech against Trump policies. Amazon says it's developing smart glasses to help drivers navigate deliveries on foot once they get out of vehicles. The AR glasses are paired with a truck camera to help offer directions and provide hands-free proof of delivery. This is ABC News.
Catch Farm Report updates throughout the day from the Midwest Farm Report, right here on 92.7 WMDX.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. In an update to a story we've been following, Governor Tony Evers has signed a bill meant to bolster EMS staffing in Wisconsin. One of them reimburses students for their EMS classes taken at Wisconsin technical colleges. Another sends additional funding to those programs. Sometimes classes there are at risk of being canceled because there aren't enough students who sign up. On top of that, these bills allow rule exceptions. Those exceptions allow joint departments to use more money from villages, towns, and cities. The bills also create a pilot program for 911 video calling to allow dispatchers to better respond to emergencies. Data from the National Emergency Medical Services Information System shows EMS and paramedics responded to more than 60 million calls across the country last year. In 2020, that number was about 43 million. We did the math. That means in 4 years, calls for EMS nationwide have jumped by about 38%. The latest numbers from the Department of Health Services show there are about 19,000 EMTs, paramedics, and other medical first responders across Wisconsin. And another Republican candidate has entered the field for lieutenant governor in 2026. Small business owner Will Martin officially announced his candidacy for the race, joining former mayor of Lancaster, David Varnum, in the Republican primary. Martin ran for the position in 2022, but fell short in the primary. On the Democratic side, only Secretary of State Sarah Godlewski has announced she's running for lieutenant governor. And a correction to a story we aired yesterday about UW branch campuses and what's happened to them after closing. We said Richland's campus was sold to a Christian school, but figuring out what's next for those buildings is a complicated work in progress. It's the former UW-Milwaukee Washington County campus that was sold to a Christian school back in August. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson, 92.7 WMDX News.
Bucks basketball tonight. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. The Milwaukee Bucks season tips off at 7 o'clock against the Washington Wizards and former Bucks star Chris Middleton. How's he doing a year after having surgery on both of his ankles?
Man, life is good. I feel refreshed for one. Great off season where I just got to work on myself, not have to worry about going into procedures or, a long rehab. So I'm definitely feeling refreshed and, blessed and thankful to still be playing. And, I'm excited for this year.
Bucks head coach Doc Rivers instructed the Five Surf Forum scoreboard crew to produce a video tribute for Middleton. How are fans going to react to seeing him in a Wizards uniform?
Or you think the fans are going to boo? Of course not. They're not. We traded him. He won a title for us, and he's a Buck, and he's part of this community. And I think that's what people forget most. As good as he was on the court, I thought he was a superstar off the court, him and his wife, with all the things they did for the community.
That's Bucks head coach Doc Rivers with Sports. I'm Mike Clemens.
Farm news that impacts you and your community from the Midwest Farm Report throughout your day on 92.7 WMDX.
I'm meteorologist Rodney Price. Mostly cloudy, breezy northwest winds to 30 as we head through your Wednesday afternoon. Highs in the upper 40s. Skies will turn mostly clear tonight. Lows in the mid-30s. A frost advisory in effect. Thursday mostly sunny. Highs will reach the lower 50s. Currently 46 degrees.
Nightlight with Pete
Thank you,
Schwaba.
Jim.
Conrad has
Jim says, hello,
restless
Todd,
leg
while
syndrome,
watching your
where it's
show
hard
on
to control
YouTube. You
your
don't
leg,
look
and
a
you gotta be careful.
day
There's a lot
over
of expensive
56.
stuff around
Wishing
this
you many more orbits around the sun. Thank you, Jim. I appreciate that.
That may or may not be exactly how old he is.
the studio. We'll be dealing with home.
It is. Well, 56 in a day, I guess.
What are we going to do here? Nightlight with Pete
So yeah, a
Schwaba.
day over 56.
Weeknights from 6 till 8 on your local Civic Media radio station and on the Civic Media app.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help.
30
Find
seconds.
free adult education classes near you at finishdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
John Peterson and Gordy Young.
Thursday morning, Tim Slecker.
From the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. Todd Allbaugh along with Mr. Aaron Zummers on the board. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. Welcome into hour number 2 of the big program here at the world headquarters of Civic Media, downtown Madison, intersection of State and Fairchild. Overcast day. Glad to have you along here on this Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite, and it is
Hump Day.
That's right. Camel made it to the middle of another day. And by the way, again, happy birthday to Rob Wheat, our football coach. Elvina Strip used to call him Wheaty. Oh, geez, where's Wheaty?
Happy birthday, Wheaty.
It sounds funny when somebody else says it to me.
I'm sure it does.
Yeah. So, Rob, one day older than I am. Or younger, I should say. One day younger. I'm the old man. But yeah, so happy birthday, Rob. Hope all is well down there in beautiful Monroe, Wisconsin, in Greene County today. All right, it's 7 minutes past the hour. It's been a lot of fun. Brand new segment here. We started here this last week or so. Time once again for today's Wisconsin Fun Fact.
Oh, Wisconsin, land of beauty, with your hillsides and your plains.
That's right. That's Wisconsin's official ballot. Land of Wisconsin, land of my dreams. Sherry Saracen, author and singer there on that. Beautiful. Time now for Wisconsin's Fun Fact. On October 22nd, 1863, Stephen Moulton Babcock was born. Babcock developed a test to determine the butterfat content of milk and worked at the University of Wisconsin for 43 years. Babcock Hall now bears his name and produces some of the finest ice cream anywhere in the world. But if they could get on top of it, figuring out ice cream headache, i.e. brain freeze, now that'd be great. That's how we play Wisconsin Fun Fact. I really should read those before we go on the air.
That would probably be a good move.
We had meetings today. We had and I attended the meetings, which is my first mistake. But I love they're simply Wisconsin fun facts. So anyway, Summers is looking at me. All right.
Well, see, I wanted to say that is indeed a fun fact, but then I realized I said that yesterday and the day before. So instead, I just said nothing.
Let's hear something from our great listening audience here. Last hour, we were joined by Pat Kreitlow, host of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow on Civic Media from 6 until 9, and Trygve Olsen, senior advisor at the Lincoln Project. And we got into this. We played this cut from President Trump from the Oval Office where he's saying that we, quote, we can't let it happen again, unquote, referring to the elections of 2020 in which we know that he illegally and by all means of review lost the 2020 election to Joe Biden. He continues to perpetuate the big lie that somehow he won, which we know that is categorically false. And so yesterday, the Oval Office, he's carrying on and hinting that we cannot let that happen again in 2028, and saying that he has his people like Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard, quote unquote, on this, which, as we heard Trygve Olsen say, as someone who fought against authoritarianism in Eastern Europe, it's a very dangerous thing to be signaling this, and it's something we have to be on top of, and it's why it's so important that if you are against Trumpism, you have to show up at elections and do so overwhelmingly that it makes it just literally impossible to rig, and like he tried to do in Georgia in 2020, calling up the Secretary of State and saying, find me X number of votes, which thankfully the guy down in Georgia did not do, even though he's Republican. But now we've seen in this Trump 2.0 in the second term, even stronger armed tactics to get his way. Take a couple of comments on this before we move on. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Jack in Merrimack, listening on WMDX. Jack, thanks for holding. Let's see.
Oh, thanks for taking my call. Couple of things to say about that. Thing one, if I heard that quote correctly, it was we can't let 2020 happen again in 2028 or ever again. Right. And that's in pretty good alignment with his old ex-buddies, Steve Bannon, who proposed that we are going to have from this point on a 50-year MAGA rule.
Right.
And you better watch. We're going to have to watch our elections. I mean, already he's trying to cheat by doing something that I've never heard of being done before outside of a court order, which is telling people to redistrict their state so that he can get more of his politicians and lackeys into office.
Right.
And the second thing I want to say about this is, though, he keeps coming up with, and so do all of these MAGA acolytes, they keep coming up with these repeated lie after lie after lie. And so much of it, like the election lie, is stuff that is either you can check on it and it's obviously false if you even bother to do just a little checking, or in some cases the lie is just almost meaningless. It's a spurious lie.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why they keep doing this. And the historian who studied the Nazis extensively, Hannah Arendt, put it quite succinctly, and I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but it's something like, the purpose of the lie, of the continuous lying, is not so people believe the lies, but so nobody believes anything anymore, and that people who then don't know what to believe don't know the difference between right and wrong, and they are the ideal subject, not the committed fascist or communist, but it's the people that don't know what to believe anymore that are the ideal people to be influenced by this kind of a regime.
Yeah, Jack, I appreciate the bringing that up, but I think that last point there, I think is, in my opinion, is the most pertinent and most dangerous, right? Because we have gotten to the point now in our day-to-day lives where sometimes right now it's difficult to find out what the truth is or not. What videos we're seeing are real or AI. Where is the truth? And to the point where people just say, I can't pay attention anymore because I don't know what's right, what's wrong. That's a great point, Jack. Appreciate it. 855-752-4842. Charles down in Milwaukee listening on WAUK. Milwaukee, Waukesha. Charles, thanks for listening. What say you?
Hey, good afternoon, guys. My frustration with it all is, when will any reporter get a backbone and call him out for the just blatant lie about the election being stolen? They know the election wasn't stolen. There was, I think, 62 court cases, and I think the only one that they won was one that allowed the watchers to move a couple inches closer to the counters. I mean, and this whole thing about 2028, he knows he can't really run. I don't put anything past him and his party anymore, because they are all sycophants and they're willing to go along with whatever he says. But my thing is, when will a reporter get some integrity and say, you know what, if I lose my job, at least I'll know I stood for something.
And I think, Charles, I agree with you, and thank you for that point, by the way, Charles in Milwaukee and WAUK. And this is why I keep trying to bring forward and share with you all these stories in the media. You know, my friends will tell me, you're so susceptible, Todd, to marketing, and you're somebody who is in the business. I say, yes, you're absolutely right, because I consume a lot of media, and yes, so I follow places like Variety and Wired and all these kind of broadcast and media publications. And the reason why I'm bringing these stories like Barry Weiss of the Free Press being paid $150 million for her very right-leaning online publication, which was 7 times the value, according to the experts, and now is being bought by Paramount, which runs and owns CBS News, and now she's the editor-in-chief of CBS News. The reason I tell you those stories is just because it's Todd's little niche thing that I'm intrigued with, which it is. I'll admit that. But it's to Charles's point. The last reporter, and there are probably others after 2020, but the last reporter that I remember, or anchor, that really did what Charles just said was when Scott Pelley was the anchor at CBS News. And he would point out during the 2020 election, he would say, you know, Donald Trump, or President Trump has said this, and that is inaccurate. Here's the act. He would present these stories in like real time. Maybe it was the 2016 election. Pardon me. Where he would, but in real time on the CBS Evening News, they play a clip from Trump, and Scott Pelley, as the anchor of CBS Evening News, would say that is inaccurate, and then read the facts. But now, because of corporations being afraid of losing their licenses, you see fewer and fewer mainstream reporters or media. To Charles's point, there were really good reporters in that room. Caitlin Collins from CNN was there. Ed O'Keefe from CBS, who all in their stand-ups in front of the White House have pointed out the facts, but they're unwilling to say that to his face in the Oval Office because they're afraid, fearful, or their companies are. Maybe Ed O'Keefe and Caitlin Collins have been told directly, do not ask these things because Trump will pull our credentials and we won't have access. And if we don't have access, we'll have fewer ratings. And fewer ratings means fewer advertising dollars, and then we're all out of business. That's why journalism matters. That's why I'm so blessed and honored to work for a place like Civic Media, who truly is independent and doesn't put those kind of constraints on us. Great calls. Let's open up the thing real quick. Time once again for What's Worse. Let's go.
This or that, this or that. Then, of course, The choice is yours.
You can get with this, time once again for what's worse. Nothing in the way, no prize, money involved. Here's your chance to have your voice heard on all 10 News Talk sports stations on the Civic Media Radio Network. Timely indeed, as Mike Lucas says. Lots of wedding. My sister and brother-in-law celebrated their anniversary. They got married in October last week. Today's category, what's worse, wedding showers or baby showers? Wedding showers or baby showers? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842, or text us on the Civic Media app. Download it for free today. It takes less than a minute. It is free. What CBS's Gail King calls a deal, the Civic Media app. What's worse, wedding showers or baby showers? We'll discuss it on the other side on the Civic Media Radio Network.
WMDX Madison, the only station with more kayaks than callers.
Green and Gold football is back at the Lazy Oaf Lounge. Catch the games on 14 large screen TVs. Join meat and jersey raffles at halftime during regular season games and enjoy half-price wings and beer bucket specials. And the Lazy Oaf is a great place for lunch with daily specials, soups made from scratch, and fast, friendly service. The Lazy Oaf Lounge, 1617 North Stoughton Road. Find specials, menus, and more at lazyoaflounge.com.
Herbal Aspect has landed. That's right, Madison's go-to cannabis destination now has a brand new location in Sun Prairie.
Wait, 4 locations? That's a high level of convenience.
With 3 Madison locations and now Sun Prairie, a great cannabis experience is always close by. Our expert staff is here to help, whether you walk in, call, or order online. Mention Radio 420 and get a special discount. So stop by Herbal Aspect in Sun Prairie, because great cannabis isn't just a pipe dream.
Nice. I'm rolling overnight.
Well, that's cool, Rosemary.
Think about it. You take thousands
2
of
baseball
steps
players
every
from
day. Shouldn't every
the
single
past
one of
Eau
them
Claire
feel amazing?
Express team.
Well, with
would
Arch
be
Fit
playing the World
hands-free
Series.
Skechers slip-ins, they can. Skechers teamed up with podiatrists to design a shoe that provides amazing arch support for all-day comfort. And best of all, you get all this comfort, stability, and support with the ease of Skechers slip-ins technology. Just slip them on. There's no bending down and no struggling to tie your shoes. Just step in and go. Try Arch Fit hands-free Skechers slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com,
This coffee from Wonder State, particularly good today.
I love playing sports, especially for my school. And that's because school sports are special. It's where it's safe to fail. It's where we're taught resilience, where our fear becomes confidence. It's where we learn to get back up after every fall. School sports are where 7.8 million students go from I can't to I can.
This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
You can find monster
20
savings
seconds.
throughout
Thank you.
October at Burlow.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Maestro Aaron Sommers directing the orchestra in what's the actual name of this? It's not Here Comes the Bride.
No, that one is
Or,
from
that's-
Wagner.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
this is Wedding March, Opus
right.
number 61 from A Midsummer Night's Dream, written by Mendelssohn.
Very, I should have known that from my music history classes at UW Richland with Professor Jim Agard. Fantastic professor, conductor, person, director. I was too poor to pay attention sometimes in my music history literature class at UW.
Well, you also don't remember every single piece of music.
But Jim Agard went a long way to help me appreciate and understand classical music, as did my high school band director, Lauren Jensen. So, little Mendelssohn, very good. All right, today's category. Speaking of music that you hear at weddings, what's worse, wedding showers or baby showers? Wedding showers or baby showers? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. You can also text us on the Civic Media app. Download it at your Apple or Android device today for free, and takes less than a minute. So download it. What's worse, wedding showers or baby showers? Zommers, we were talking about Trigby, you and I, of a certain age, when we were growing up, was not common for men to go to either one of these things. I think with your generation, it's much more so.
More so, but still not super common.
Really?
The only ones that I have been to were for my older sister.
Wedding or baby?
Yes.
Oh, okay, very good. All right, very good. Wedding
Not
shower...
at the same time, mind you. They were separate events.
I wasn't going to ask.
But I went to both.
Okay, I wondered, but I wasn't going to ask. Wedding showers or baby showers? 855-752-4842. Brett in Brown Deer, listening on WAUK in Milwaukee, Waukesha. This is great. He says, what do baby showers and wedding showers and Trump rallies have in common? You'll never see me at any of them. That's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
Chris, listening in beautiful Janesville via WMDX. Chris says, I don't agree with this statement.
Well,
All
maybe it is more common than either of us think for men to go to the baby showers and wedding showers. I don't know. A lot of my friends haven't. A lot of my relatives haven't.
Jill, listening in Madison here on WMDX, says wedding showers are worse. Gift buying for baby showers is much easier. All right, that's a good point. I also, my friends Joe and Rachel are expecting their first child, and I got out in Colorado, so I wasn't able to make it. But and they're pretty chill people. They're very chill people. But
well, they do live in Colorado.
Exactly. But I think, I don't know why, but I feel like gifts are getting harder to buy unless they're on a registry.
Yeah,
because people are very particular now.
Yes, they
about
really are.
I mean, some people are very, and look, I mean, that's fine, but it's like, well, I want my baby, and I'm not saying my friends are like this, but I'm just saying in general, some people are like, well, I don't want anything that's purchased or that's manufactured in country X, or I don't want anything that's made out of this material, or it has to be natural dyes. You don't know what people. It used to just be, go to Cross Cups department store and pick something out of Garanimals, and you're good. But not anymore. You understand?
Yeah, it can be pretty complicated. Which, luckily for me, I was in high school at the time, so I didn't have to buy anything for my sister.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I'm trying to think of. Have I been to a wedding shower? I don't think I've been to a wedding shower. Have I actually been to a baby shower? I don't know. Not that I know of. But I don't know. I think that's why I'm big on registries. Just look at the registry, pick something, and boom, there you go. You're done. Because they're going to use it then.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm probably just going to give money.
I feel like those are the two best options, unless you really know the person well. Like if it's someone who you see multiple times a week, you can probably figure out something. But
wedding showers or baby showers, what's worse? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Barb, listening in Waukesha on WAUK. We were just there last week, Barb. Love Waukesha. Says, I didn't like going to my own showers. They are both equally obnoxious.
I believe it.
Now, there's an honest answer. Well done, Barb. I think there are people out there. It's like, I really don't want to do this. And the friends, no, you got to do it.
It's also, I just find it to be kind of a weird tradition because you're showering them with gifts. So, okay, let's say you have a couple who just got together or who's about to get married and they plan on having kids right away. You get them a gift at the wedding shower. You get them a gift at the wedding. You get them a gift at the baby shower. If they buy a house, you get them a housewarming gift. It's like, all right, just take half my paycheck.
Let's see. PJ, watching on YouTube, says, which are worse, wedding or baby shower? Says both, because I have done neither one and never plan to. Well, that brings up a good point. Like, I have never been married. I doubt whether I ever will be. So I feel like, what do? You just say, okay, I'm going to pick a date and I'm going to celebrate my singlehood. Bring me a gift.
That is frowned upon.
Well, but I think that's a good point. See, people think I'm weird if I did this, but yet I'm expected to give multiple gifts to people that get married.
Yeah, I think you just have to base it on how well you know the person and everything. Like, are they going to be upset if you don't get them something? Are they going to be upset if you just get them something small but useful? Like,
well, I think that's it. You know, I mean, I've been. There's been a couple of years in my life where I've had like, I don't know, like 3 or 4 people that I knew got married and stuff. And you're right, then it gets pricey, right? So, I don't know. Joe, watching on YouTube, says, what's worse, visiting Nashville? It seems to be the entire bachelorette shindig thing has gotten a little out of hand. So I'll say wedding showers are worse. Oh, he's down in Nashville. All right, well, enjoy your trip down there, Joe. Safe travels. Terry Barr says the game's at either one. All right, come on back. We'll have more after this on the Civic Media Radio Network. Stay tuned for Pan Yankee, the Farm Report.
DX Madison, where conversations are free range and organic. Madison, Wisconsin. Students, government, lakes, and 92.7
Brent Brown Deer says, Todd, you don't get a gift for not getting married because you already won by saying single.
Is living in Brandon, Wisconsin.
Oh, that's fantastic, Brett. We're going to use that when we come back. That's really good.
You know, to be fair, you didn't go out. What? I don't even know how much the average wedding costs these days. 15 grand?
That's a starting point. That's a cheap one. Yeah.
I'll have that story coming your way right after this.
Get ready, Wisconsin. 10 days packed with discovery,
Oh,
fun,
yeah.
and excitement
That was a
are
really
coming your
conservative
way.
estimate.
It's the Wisconsin Science Festival,
According to
October
Google's
16th
AI
through the
search,
26th.
the average
With
cost
over
of a wedding in the
200
U.S.
unique
is
events
33
in
to
more than
36
50
grand.
counties, you'll find something
Oh,
for
my
everyone.
gosh.
Kids,
I-
families, and
I
lifelong
guess
learners.
average. That
This year's
means,
theme,
is it median or
rock and roll.
average? I mean,
Dive into the music, motion,
the
and
half or
geology
less than that and
within
half or
active
more?
events. Don't miss the fun.
It's
Visit
median.
WI
So average, I don't know what you
The
do.
AI doesn't know what it's talking about because it says there's another source that indicates a lower median cost of 10 grand.
Giant pumpkins for over 10 years.
Yeah, I would think that in Wisconsin, based on people that I've known gotten married and stuff, I bet you the average cost, or the average cost, I think is, I'm going to guess closer to somewhere between,
and in the summer, cucumber beetles, aphids, spider mites, and
somewhere
so
between
forth.
15
then,
and 22.
different diseases, depending on your
I don't
soil,
know.
how
That's
healthy
that's kind of a
soil,
range more than anything.
disease free, or are you been battling diseases for years? So there's fungicides that's applied regularly too.
Yeah,
a lot of
I
growers will
know
will
how
spray
much my sister and
fungicides
brother-in-law's wedding cost. That was 25 years ago.
every 7
Right,
days.
I imagine significantly lower.
Depending on, of
Yeah.
course, your weather.
So yeah, maybe the average cost
along
today is
with us.
closer to
He's been
25.
competing in competitive giant pumpkin growing for over a decade. Stick around, I'll have a look at the markets right after this.
From mealtime to snack time, Pork has got you covered. Toss chops, rice, veggies, and seasonings in one pan for a weeknight flavor that gets everyone excited. Or add Italian sausage to soup for instant comfort food vibes. It's flavors worth sharing around the table because when Pork's involved, every meal becomes the main event. For more crowd-pleasing recipes,
All right, let's go to some of these sports because we'll do not right away. We'll get to Brad Nortman and Barry
I'm Kylie
Alvarez.
Allen for the Midwest Farm Report, taking a look at
I think those
today's
are the only
closing
ones, right?
markets.
All right, I think,
December
yeah.
corn closed up 3 1/4 at 4.23, and November soybeans closed up 4 at 10.34 3/4. December wheat closed up 3 1/2 at 5.03 3/4, and July 2026 wheat closed up 1 3/4 at 5.41 1/4. November Class 3 milk contracts are trading up 14 cents at 17.12, and December Class 3 milk is trading down 6 cents at 16.45. 40-pound block cheese closed down 2 1/2 at 1.74, and AA butter closed down 3 1/2 at 5.54 1/2. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Kylie Allen.
Mad City, biking through blizzards since forever. 92.7 WMDX.
I'm meteorologist Rodney Price. Mostly cloudy, breezy northwest winds to 30 as we head through your Wednesday afternoon. Highs in the upper 40s. Skies will turn mostly clear tonight. Lows in the mid-30s. A frost advisory in effect. Thursday mostly sunny.
It's a frost
Highs will reach
advisory
the
for
lower
Madison.
50s. Currently
Frost on the
46
pumpkin.
degrees.
Doctors Without Borders is delivering life-saving medical care
And
where it's needed
Doctors Without
most in
Borders.
communities around the world. From
I just like her
bandaging
accent.
war-wounded patients in Sudan to
It isn't an
providing
I'm not
American,
making fun of the
yeah.
ad. I'm just saying the
We're in
accent.
more than 70
I think it's
countries
a French
worldwide, bringing patients
Oh,
from
really?
sick to
charity
recovery,
originally.
from emergency to aid, from crisis to care. This life-saving
Something like
care
that. I
is
don't know.
made possible by a global movement of supporters like
I
you.
just any
Thank
foreign accent to me is just a bad British accent.
Well,
John and Gordy
good news
Show.
for you.
The
A lot of them
FCC
came
Gestapo
from British
coming
accents
out.
because of
Okay,
colonialism.
All right. Coming in hot, huh? I just don't want to go off on the deep
Well, yeah.
end here. You know, I know I'm going to do it. I know it's going to happen.
About 30 seconds.
All right, thank you. Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Glad to have you along on a Wednesday, October 22nd, Wheaties birthday, 2025. 35 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. Zommers on the board. Aaron Zommers, that is. Wrapping up, I want to, because this came in just under the wire, and I want to get this in today's What's Worse category. What's worse, wedding showers or baby showers? And Zommers, I forgot to, I guess, officially ask you, what's worse?
I think I'm going to say baby showers just because, like you said, with all the new organic stuff, it's harder to come up with something you can give them that's not just buying off a registry.
Yeah, I guess I'd agree. Yeah, baby showers are probably worse. Our own Terry Barr, watching on YouTube, sees these games. She was saying the games, either one, are terrible. She says games like how fast can you diaper a doll or pin the bow tie on the groom. See, I've never had to do anything like that.
See, pin the bow tie on the groom just ends up being, all right, you have one person who's not going to aim for the neck. They're going to aim much lower and probably nail it. And everybody else with their blindfolds is going to miss.
Now, that's a game I might participate in.
Perhaps. I think you probably succeed. Practice makes perfect.
Probably. But here's the winner for the day, in my opinion, on the text line. What's worse, wedding showers or baby showers? And I said earlier that, look, for those of us who never got married, probably won't. Well, I should have like a single shower or something like that. I don't know. Brett Brown Deer, listening on WAUK, Brett says, quote, Todd, you don't get a gift for not getting married because you already won by staying single. Now, I don't know about that. Sometimes it's not, you get a little lonely or whatever. But there is something to be said, I guess, for your freedom as well.
There is. And I mean, talking money-wise, if you're talking about a baby shower, having kids, very expensive.
Very expensive. Very expensive. Yeah. On the other hand, when I get old, there's going to be nobody around to take care of me. That's why I'm trying to stay healthy. Understand? That's why I gotta get rid of the salivary. What is it?
Salivary gland.
That's
stone.
it. Salivary gland stone. I can't be walking around with a stone in my neck for the next 20 years. That's not going to help. All right, that was a great segment. I like that a lot. We'll play more tomorrow on What's Worse. Okay, I want to get into this a little bit, which we haven't. And by the way, on Friday we're going to talk more about it. We're going to have Brady Ewing, our friend Brady Ewing, who is a former Badger, two-time Big Ten champion of Wisconsin Badger football, and then he also played 3 years in the NFL. We've had Joe Thomas on this show. He was kind enough to invite us out to his farm, Six Springs Farm. By the way, he's a beef guy, and we went into yesterday about all the stuff Donald Trump wants to pay Argentinian beef farmers, bail them out, help them, and screw over the Wisconsin beef farmers. But that's, as they say, that's another bottle of wine or plate of beef. But we've had Brady, we have Joe Thomas on, and looking at what's happening at Wisconsin football right now, it ain't good. By any stretch of the imagination, Brady will be here on Friday at 3:30. We'll get his take on it, at least his personal take, his thoughts on not a great season so far for Wisconsin football. They have only won 2 games, and they were the 2 non-conference games against Miami of Ohio and Middle Tennessee State. They lost against Alabama. They lost at home against Maryland. They lost at Michigan. They lost at home against Iowa 37-0. And now this past week, they lost to number 1 Ohio State at home 34-0. They go to Oregon. I get the town and the state mixed up. They go to Oregon out in Washington State this year, or this week.
That is Oregon.
Oregon.
The town here is Oregon.
I'm reading 3 things at once. I'm sorry. Yes, they go to Oregon this week and play the Ducks, the Dirty Ducks, which I'm not a fan of these people anyway, the Ducks, because they've stolen games from us, but I'm not going to get into that. So they play Oregon, 6 p.m. local time here in Wisconsin. Oregon is ranked number 6 in the country. They've got new tie-dye flashy uniforms. They always got flashy uniforms because their big benefactor is Phil Knight of Nike. So they get whatever they want from Nike. Most likely it'll be 6 straight games for Luke Fickell and the Badgers' losses. Then they come home to play Washington, the other UW, which I had that at the beginning of the season. I thought that would be a win. I no longer think so.
Yeah, I'm not so optimistic.
Then they go to number 2 Indiana. That ain't going to be pretty for the Badgers. Then they come home and play the traveling Berts, Brett Bielema, and Illinois that's ranked 23. That's going to be a struggle. And then they finish up the season at Minnesota, the battle for the axe against the Flexers, PJ Fleck. PJ Fleck, for whatever reason, knows how to get his team psyched up for that game. If it was at Wisconsin, maybe. I think Wisconsin struggles to have another win all season long. So you finish with 2 wins for the year after finishing with 4 or 5 last year. They missed the bowl game last year. And the fans are calling, the donors are calling for Luke Fickell, the coach of the Badgers, to be fired. Let me make it clear. I feel really badly for the players because I don't think there's anybody on the Wisconsin Badger football team from the players, the student athletes, who are not trying. What's confusing to me is this abysmal slip into worse than mediocrity by a team by a program that Barry Alvarez built up, was maintained to a large degree by Brett Bielema before he left to Arkansas. Had a couple of years of Gary Anderson, which was kind of a weird period, but at least, hey, they had a winning record, went to bowl games. Then he had Paul Christ come in, ended up going to the Rose Bowl in 2019, or after the 2019 season into 2020. Got fired by new athletic director Chris McIntosh, and then brought in Luke Fickell from Cincinnati after bypassing longtime defensive assistant and Wisconsin alum, NFL alum, veteran Jimmy Leonard. What I think is surprising about this period in Badger football, surprising, disconcerting, is you have a lot of former players now coming out and speaking openly about this. Want to play this cut? This is from Brad Nortman, former University of Wisconsin punter, who now has a program on ESPN Wisconsin. This is Badger alum Brad Nortman on the status of Wisconsin football.
Everything I'm hearing from inside the building is that he has zero, not only hasn't done it, there's no engagement with the alumni, the former players, or Wisconsin high school coaches. There's no interest in doing it. Every high school football coach I talk to, there is no relationship with Coach Fickell or any of the coaching staff. There is zero intention to try to keep Wisconsin kids in the program. There's no interest in it. Not only that, when we talk about alumni and raising money and boosters, everything I'm hearing is that Fickell has no interest in bridging that gap, raising money, and leaning into Wisconsin culture.
He'll get fired, and he shouldn't be.
And finally, I've heard there's two, big red events. So it's happening right here in Milwaukee. Had to get canceled because he wouldn't show up. So there is a major disconnect between what a Wisconsin head coach should be doing of reinforcing the culture and what is currently being done. And the symptom is what is on the field. The illness itself is all of these issues, and it all plays out with trash product on the field.
That is Brad Nortman on ESPN Wisconsin. When they posted, they put that music behind it there. But I think that's a really telling from someone who has direct connections to the University of Wisconsin Badger football program. If what he's reporting is true, and I have no reason to believe it's not, I mean, how do you build on that? If your head coach doesn't even want to talk, and as someone whose dad was a Wisconsin wrestling coach for 38 whatever years it was. And this is part of the reason that Barry Alvarez was so successful when he came into Wisconsin from Notre Dame. He said, look, we're going to draw a perimeter around the state of Wisconsin, and we're going to focus on these kids here and keep them home. That's our number one priority. And the way that you do that is making relationships with these high school coaches. And I get it that it's slightly different now with NIL, but that's where it begins, with relationships. And the fact you have a former player like Brad Nortman, little disconcerting. Want to play this also from the Barry Alvarez program on former head coach, former athletic director, Barry Alvarez on ESPN Wisconsin. He followed up after what Nortman said, different program, but I think it was within 24 to 40 hours. Here's the discussion with Barry.
We're trying to create interest, and then once we had interest, then whatever you're looking for, you had an avenue to get to a lot of people about what you wanted and tell your story and press some flesh with a lot of fans, so they know you personally. They know the head coach. They know the assistant coaches. Our guy, you just can't sit back and say, we need this, we need that, we need that. Get out in the state and let the people meet you and sell the program. Know who you are. And this state will embrace you. They did.
Luke Fickell is a good man.
You did it in 1990, Coach.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Luke Fickell, all they claim they want to know him, and you meet Luke, and you automatically think, hey, this is a football guy. He's a wrestler. He's a football player.
No question.
He's in the trenches.
He's dedicated.
He loves
committed.
the kids. He loves football. And so all he's got to do is, get out there, and the support will.
I think
come.
You have to now more than ever.
Yeah.
There is no recourse.
So I think we've gone away from that within the department. We used to do it all the time, and I think we got away from it a little bit. And I think another road trip around the state. That's what we used to call it. We'd load everybody up in a van. I'd take all the coaches, Bo, myself. We take about 4 head coaches and some administrators, and we'd go out and we'd press palms. We'd go out and meet with people. We'd talk about our program, and we would tell them what our problems are. But they knew us, and they knew the people, and they knew them firsthand, and they can tell their friends, and that goodwill goes a long way.
Barry Alvarez, former head coach of the Wisconsin Badgers and athletic director. And look, the guys that he was on, by the way, from ESPN Wisconsin, the Barry Alvarez show. The guys he was with trying to kind of help Fickell out there a little bit. Whether Barry intentionally sent the signal or not, I think he's calling Fickell out in McIntosh. I was at the big red event down in Monroe. in Greene County. Brett Bielema showed up. Barry Alvarez, women's basketball coach. They're not doing that anymore. Come on back after this. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Reach, engage, grow with Civic Media. Log on civicmedia.us/advertise.
Hey, Gordy, I gotta admit, these hearing aids from Madison Hearing Aid Center changed my life.
Mine too, John. I thought I needed subtitles to talk to my grandkids.
And these aren't those old giant clunkers we saw in the old days. It's got Bluetooth, it's rechargeable, the works.
Yeah, my phone connects straight to my ears. I'm basically a cyborg now.
Hey, you just figured out texting last year, too.
Yeah, baby steps. But I did call Madison Hearing Aid Center, and you should too. 608-249-4077.
608-249-4077. Tell them John and Gordy sent you.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government buy-in for the people. A lawyer who had multiple phone calls with President Donald Trump during the January 6th insurrection has been appointed by the president to investigate debunked allegations that widespread fraud changed the outcome of the 2020 election. He has 130 days as a special government employee to complete his assignment. The Wall Street Journal reported October 17th that Kurt Olson, a product liability attorney turned Trump election lawyer, was appointed to look into President Trump's claims that the 2020 election was stolen. According to the January 6th Select Committee report, it was Olson who drafted a memo on January 2nd entitled "The Role of the Vice President in Receiving Votes from the Electoral College," and he spoke with Trump 3 times on January 6th. The Detroit News reports that Olson has recently been involved in defending another Trump election lawyer, Stephanie Lambert, from accusations she and others tampered with Michigan electronic vote tabulators. He defended U.S. Senate and Arizona gubernatorial candidate Carrie Lake in her baseless challenges to the 2022 election. A judge sanctioned Olson for, quote, false, misleading, and unsupported factual assertions, though his fines were later dropped. 2 good government groups later filed ethics complaints in Maryland and Washington, D.C. for an alleged, quote, pattern of unethical conduct. We've linked to more at AmericanDemocracyMinute.org. I'm Brian Beal.
If you love animals and want to help in Dane County, shop, donate, or volunteer at one of Dane County Humane Society's thrift stores. These commercials. They sell gently used and new clothes, home goods, toys, furniture, and more. All proceeds support the comfort and care of animals in need. Dane County Humane Society thrift stores. Shop Thrift Store West on Watts Road and Thrift Store East on High Crossing Boulevard. Visit giveshelter.org/thrift to learn more.
When severe weather hits and the power goes out, do you have a plan? For reliable power and peace of mind, propane can do that. It only takes about 10 seconds for a propane-powered generator to restore power to your home.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network, where it is now 8 minutes before the hour of 4 o'clock. At the top of the hour, ABC or CBS News, depending upon which of our great stations you're listening to, a check of weather, and then our great sports reporter. Speaking of sports, Mike Clemens will be in with a look at what's going on, maybe talk a little bit. I mean, he's been covering what's going on with Wisconsin Badger football as well, basketball as well. But he had a cut on, I know, from Luke Fickell, head coach of the Badger football program, who was asked, has he been told if he's going to be back as head coach next year? And Clemens had the cut where Fickell said, well, I haven't been told. I don't ask. I don't talk about it. My wife kind of looks at me funny. And sure, you think about it, but you can't worry about it. And look, I think that's a right cut. Zomer says this was the cut that Mike Clemens had at that presser from Luke Fickell.
No, I don't think any of us have a crystal ball. I've never asked the question.
It's not something that I can dwell upon. It's not something that I can't tell you that it's not something that you don't think about. I'm not saying it's something when you go home, your wife doesn't look at you, but it doesn't do us any good.
Great work on that, Zommers, for pulling that up, and many thanks to Mike Clemens for sending that cut along. I think that's a fair comment by Fickle. I'm not out to get anyone. I just want the program to get back on track. And I've said this before on this show, and it's so true because I know it because having worked at the Capitol and seen how these things work, or at least a little bit of glimmer or glance behind the curtain, if you will. And you know who understood this better than anybody else? Former Madison Chancellor Donna Shalala, who when she came in as Chancellor at UW-Madison, she said straight out. I talked to my buddy Jeff last night, who, proud Badger graduate, who he remembers going to I always forget, is it convocation, when you go into at the beginning of the year? It's where the chancellor meets with the new incoming students.
I think that's convocation.
And Donna Shalala said up front to the new students, the freshmen, look, we're going to get this right. We can't have a great university without a great football program at the Division I level. And by golly, she went out and lured Pat Richter, who was a former Badger, two-sport athlete, maybe three, but at least two. He was the CEO of Oscar Mayer here in Madison. He didn't need to leave that. She convinced him that it was his duty, basically, as an alum, to come save this program with her. Richter came over from Oscar Mayer as athletic director, hired Barry Alvarez away from national champion Notre Dame and Lou Holtz, and the rest is history. And there's a lot of people, sports doesn't matter. There's too much attention paid on sports. You know what? Maybe there is, to a certain degree, too much attention on sports. But you have to understand at the Division I level, and Donna Shalala understood this, that the revenue, not just the straight revenue from direct revenue from ticket sales, it's also the media money from television, all the media rights, all the branding, the sales of apparel. All of that money is a huge part. That it doesn't all go to the football program or athletics. Part of that money is dispersed to the university as a whole. And every time that they play a high-profile game or go to a bowl game, the interest by people attending UW-Madison and actually coming here goes up. And Shalala understood that. And part of the great success academically, research-wise, notoriety-wise, or media-wise of UW-Madison is directly the result of Donna Shalala, Pat Richter, and Barry Alvarez. And in today's world, whether I like it, you like it, anybody likes it, we could disagree with it. But the reality is, if you're a Division I program and your football team sucks, it's going to negatively impact your university in all kinds of ways. And that's why it's critically important to find a way to right this ship. Larry, listening in Deerfield on WMDX, says, I have no inside knowledge, but based on what I've seen, Chris McIntosh has not lived up to the legacy of Barry Alvarez and the guy that started the turnaround, Pat Richter. And it was, as you are acknowledging, Donna Shalala who hired Richter. Thanks, Larry. Appreciate listenership in Deerfield on WMDX. I agree. So I feel bad. I feel terrible for the guys. They're giving it everything they got. There was a kid that played, I can't remember his name, played with a broken arm this last week. They were doing everything they can. But to that clip we played earlier from Barry Alvarez, I don't think that the current folks that, whether it's McIntosh or whether it's Fickle, I just think they're focusing too much on this whole NIL game or whatever, and they're not going out and part of this is politicking. Again, Barry Alvarez came into my old boss's office when he was Senate Majority Leader. Politicked for money that they needed for facilities on campus in the sports department. And guess what? He got him. So we'll talk more about this from the sports side of Brady Ewing on Friday at 3:30. So be listening for that. Great show today. Many thanks to Pat Kreitlow, host of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow every morning from 6 until 9. And Trygve Olson, Senior Advisor at Lincoln Project. Our own Aaron Zommers doing yeoman's work on the board as always. Be here tomorrow for another edition. We'll welcome you back then. Stay tuned now for Maggie Dawn and the Maggie Dawn Show, followed by Pete Schwaba and Nightlight. Todd saying, whatever you believe in, whatever you're fighting for, do not give up. Keep banging your drum. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Keep banging on your drum. Keep banging on, and your day will come. Keep banging on your drum, and they will hear you.
Okie dokie, everybody. Appreciate you. Have a great day. We'll see you mañana.
Adios.
Bye-bye.